Welcome back to L22 Sports Daily. We're here every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. I'm Ben Shrewsbury. That's Dames Marvs. And, well, Dames, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Ben. How are you today?
Good. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get the clock going. The clock starts now. Let's start with kind of the biggest news of the day, in my opinion, and that's the Chiefs trading for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, so they lost. I can't even remember all the players they lost this year, but there's three wide receivers that they're missing. Um, and
Well, Rasheed Rice,
okay,
Schuster's down now,
and who
and they lost one of their no-name guys, too.
you should know this, but yeah, three guys for one team, and then you look at the stats across the board for Mahomes, and he's not playing at a top 10 quarterback level. Now I realize that I'm saying that as he is currently on a team that is undefeated. But this, let's face it, man. If, and I'm just going to ask you this reasonably, if the Chiefs played the Ravens right now, who would you pick to win that game?
Where is it? Baltimore or Kansas City?
You pick because
That game's in Can
they haven't been super impressive anywhere. So
If that game's in Kansas City, I give them a chance for the same reason I thought they'd win week one. But if it's in Baltimore, I'm picking the Ravens. Because
okay,
I think the Ravens at home are just,
that's fair. Um, I just I hate bringing this up, but we also got to remember the referee factor because when you're playing the Chiefs, you got to
ref
factor that
ball.
in.
Ref
And,
ball.
and I hate that. I really hate that. But Mahomes leads the league in interceptions. Does he need another target? Absolutely. Is this the guy to do
No,
it?
no.
Who? I mean, dude, I honestly feel like if he had like a DK Metcalf, he would be. I mean, that would be a prime situation for both of
I
them.
mean, if the Chiefs got DK Metcalf, that'd be curtains on the season right there. Like that'd be
I
it.
mean, and the reason I say that is not as a homer, but DK Metcalf goes up and he makes the plays. And Mahomes is not a he's not the most accurate guy. He likes to run around and then kind of chuck the ball up. DK Metcalf in a 50-50 situation is more like an 80-20. He's 6'4". He's got the hops of a ridiculous kangaroo, but we got DeAndre Hopkins. That's who we're dealing with. Fourth round conditional pick. Did they pay too little for him?
I, am I the only one who thought DeAndre Hopkins was out of the league? No, I'm serious. Like you think I'm kidding? I'm serious. I thought he retired.
Tennessee is on a fire sale, so name me any of their players. And it's a hard WTF. So I don't know. This is we'll see what happens here.
Not the last Titan to be traded, I suspect.
No, and not the first. Certainly, we Seattle traded for a guy today. Ernest something or other. I can't even remember his name, but exciting because he's a linebacker and we need that. But they're compiling picks, dude. Like they got just in today, these two trades, they got two fourth round picks. So I mean, they need help. They're in rebuild mode, obviously.
And
So
their quarterback is Will Levis. Like
but is that I don't know that that's an albatross. They got 3 more years to figure it out, 2 more years to figure it out while they have these picks. So we'll see. Tail of the tape is out on that one.
And then the other news of the day is Elvin Kamara gets an extension in New Orleans. I didn't understand this, certainly not at the price that they are paying him. 2 years, 24.5 million, almost $25 million for a guy who really, for the most part, has not produced at that level for probably 2 years, if not more.
I'll tell you this. I see two reasons for this. The Giants, not doing this with Saquon Barkley and letting him walk, and now that's one of their worst nightmares. In fact, I want to tell you what a great player and teammate Saquon Barkley is real quick. He was 13 yards away from his career high in rushing yards against his former team that refused to pay him. His coach sat down and he said, "We got this game in hand, but you're 13 yards away from your career best. It's up to you." He's like, "I'm going to take out the starters." He's like, "But if you
If
want to go in there and get it," he goes, "No, I want to see the young guys eat." He's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, man, let them eat." 13 yards, that's two carries at the most. But
for
he's like,
him,
he's thinking, you know what? I'm not here to show up my old team. A win's enough. He's just that quality of player. Alvin Kamara is that quality of player. And I'll tell you this, Ben, you want to bag on his production. He has 86 touchdowns from scrimmage in the last 5 years, 6 years, and that is the second most in that span of any player. And those are the two reasons why he got $12.5 million a year.
I just don't know if he's worth that right now. The
Who?
other news that some of it came out yesterday, some of it came out today. Andy Dalton and his family were in a car crash, I guess, yesterday. This was a
Indeed.
weird story.
Indeed.
This is a weird story, by the way, because all that really comes out of this is Andy Dalton ended up hurting his thumb. Thank goodness it wasn't worse than that, obviously. And now he's out for the game on Sunday, so Bryce Young is back in against the Broncos. This situation is really weird.
You know what? I mean, oftentimes, and you'll see this in other sports like baseball, a good reset does a lot for a player. Like they'll send him down to AAA. He'll come back with a whole new perspective. This Bryce has been sitting a couple games now, and he can't feel good about it. He was the number one draft pick overall, and now he's coming back and he gets a chance to play, not based on merit, but just based on, the simple weird things that happen in life. So this he should consider this a reset because this is a quality Broncos team. Right now, they're a playoff team, and I do see them making the playoffs. But if Bryce has any chance of getting traded to a team that would want a quarterback in the next 2 weeks, he's going to have to show out in this game against a quality coach and a quality Denver team. And I say that just knowing that Bo Nix is in his first year. So this game all of a sudden became interesting to me. I was not looking forward to watching Andy Dalton versus a rookie. But now there's a little more a competitive edge. What are your thoughts?
I I don't see it with Bryce Young. I didn't see it with Bryce Young in college either. I didn't understand him being the number one pick. I thought it should have been Stroud. It
I don't disagree with you at all.
I you know, I understand from a certain perspective why Carolina wanted Bryce Young. They wanted the upside that could have potentially come with Bryce Young. I don't think they're going to ever see that. Is it possible he goes somewhere else and does what Baker Mayfield has done in Tampa? Yeah. We
Well,
said,
you also you gotta have a right situation. And let's be honest, there's not a lot there in Carolina for a
no.
young quarterback. There's just not. There's not coaching there. There's not superstar players.
And the
The
ownership is,
superstar player other than him is Andy Dalton, who is 200 years old. So,
and ownership in Carolina is always been it's always been a problem, but it seems like the owner's even more meddlesome now than he's ever been. And that's kind of a problem.
right.
Let's talk about tomorrow's Thursday night game. The Vikings in LA against the Rams at SoFi. Brother, Cooper Kupp might play in this game. It sounds like, according to Sean McVay.
Yep, he's on the trade block as well for those teams that are out there looking for a receiver.
I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks at least make a phone call there.
I don't want that guy on my team at all. I and it's not it's just because he makes me sick because he's good. And I know that makes no sense, but he's been good
That
against
does make no sense.
he's been good against us too many times. Here's what I told Gobo in NFL earlier today. He picked Minnesota, I picked Minnesota, but I said I'm not going to be surprised if the Rams win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch. Um, but yeah, we got to see how it shakes out. It's primetime football. I look forward to watching it. This is not a game I would normally watch on the schedule. I know that you would because it's your team, but I'm glad that it's on a Thursday night so I can actually watch it unencumbered.
I do I do not like Thursday night football as a general rule. I think it is dumb. I think to ask these guys to play on a Sunday, some of them on a Sunday night, and then turn around and play on a Thursday night is dumb. I'm picking the Vikings, but I will say again what I've said for weeks now. Sam Darnold is due for a blow up game where he looks terrible for 4 quarters. We have not seen that yet. I would not be surprised if on a short week coming off a really bad loss, and when I say really bad, I mean like really bad as in heartbreaking, as in you thought you had the game won and then Detroit drove down and beat you. I would not be surprised if the Rams edge one out here, but for the Rams to win this game, it's going to have to be like 17-14.
I
So
agree. I agree. A low scoring game. But to your point about Thursday night football, look, I like watching. I hate waiting all week for for the Sunday games and then having to have them all piled on top of each other. So I like a little bit spread out. But to your point, Seattle played Thursday night football, then they had a Sunday game, and then they had a Monday night game, and they lost all three of those games. 3 games in an 11-day span is absurd for
yeah,
any team to endure. So, I mean, check, Ben. You made a good point, buddy. Congratulations. All right, let me ask you this before we move off of the NFL.
yep.
Trade deadline's coming up on November 5th, election day. Give me one shocking trade prior to the deadline that would just blow my mind.
Can I make one point first? Could they have planned this deadline any worse? Putting it up against the election?
I mean, I don't think that the NFL people are going to care.
No.
So, anyway, give
Um,
one.
I don't necessarily have a destination for this guy, but I would not be the least bit surprised if Jameis Winston gets traded, potentially back to New Orleans, because they already didn't play him Sunday.
Well, they had to because DTR got hurt also.
Well, if DTR gets healthy again, if DTR plays this week and he plays next week, I would not be surprised if Jameis Winston goes back to New Orleans, pending the severity of Derek Carr's injury.
Okay. That
Also, Cooper Cup's going to go somewhere weird. I don't know why, but I think Cooper Cup's going somewhere weird, like somewhere we just don't even
you know
think is
where I'd
possible.
like to see Cooper Cup go?
Where
Buffalo.
Cooper Cup and Buffalo, that's a
Give
Super Bowl
give
team.
Josh Allen a middle of the field grunt guy that's willing to do the grunt work. That team will be unbeatable on offense. My goodness.
People talk about
Corey
how Cooper.
Cooper and Cooper Cup. Oh, I love it. Think about that, Ben. That'd be amazing. Anyway, I've got one for you,
Oh boy.
and I want you to hear me out.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford for Sam Darnold.
Okay, I don't hate that trade, but Ben Gosling, insider for the Vikings, reported today that the Vikings are not going to be trading for Matt Stafford.
All right. Well, it would make sense.
But why would McVay want Darnold? Is my question. That's my only
Well,
question here.
well, if they're trading Cooper Cup, they're in fire sale mode anyway.
Right.
And they're going to be looking to get draft picks to move up in the draft and draft their quarterback. That's all I can think of. And Sam Darnold would be a great backup, and he's a great guy I mean, he's having a resurgence. He's only 27 years old. Um,
Yeah.
it makes sense for the Vikings because they've got the future. They don't have to worry about what to do with Darnold if he wins MVP. And they know that Stafford's got 1 or 2 years left at the most, while you can bring along your young kid with a guy that's won a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold has not won a Super Bowl. So it really is a challenging situation for Minnesota, whatever they're going to do with Darnold at the end of the year. So I
I
just thought,
okay, can I use this as a jumping off point for one thing?
yeah,
JJ McCarthy is not the future of the Minnesota Vikings.
I
Period. End of
I agree.
story. This guy is not the answer. He's not the way, he's not the light, he's not the truth. I I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of hearing about it. JJ McCarthy sucks. He sucked at Michigan. He had Blake Corum behind him, who was one of the best running backs in the country and one of the best running backs in the history of the University of Michigan. And that's saying a lot. And the guy behind him wasn't too bad either. The guy behind Blake Corum, Travis Edwards, he's not too bad either, as it turns out. So, what do you know? And let's not forget, there were multiple games when McCarthy was starting that Harbaugh only threw it 9 times.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. I 100%. I'm just speaking with what they've done. He's the future of the franchise with what they've done.
I
Do I
will add
think that
one
he's going to
caveat.
be there?
I will add one caveat to this whole thing, and that's that Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown are quarterback whisperers to the nine. And if anybody can figure out how to make that thing work with JJ, it's them.
Well, and I thought the same thing with Harbaugh. Let's move on. We're at the halfway point here.
Yep,
NBA kicked off
basketball.
last night. I was
Two
wrong.
messy games. I mean, I didn't think the basketball was very good last night in either game, but the Knicks and the Celtics, this game was over in the first quarter.
Dude, I watched this quarter. Boston looks like they were still playing game 8 of the NBA Finals. They came out and they made 10 3-pointers in the first quarter. It was 43 to 20 at the first quarter break.
Uh,
They were out, the game was over. It was not fun
You
to
could have
watch.
turned the game, like, legitimately. I know you didn't, but you could have turned the game off right there. You could have just turned the game off. Like, the Knicks
I
looked terrible.
I'll tell you, I didn't turn it off, but it certainly wasn't paying attention to the sound. I was watching the hockey games all going on, which was amazing, by the way. But
The Knicks looked dreadful. I
they
mean, just horrid.
dude, they looked like they were worn down at the end of a season. That's what
Yeah.
they were, very lethargic. Not a lot of energy. It might be just team chemistry. This Celtics team, and I should have known this. They're coming back with a ton of chemistry. All the Knicks guys are new to each other, trying to figure each other out. And it reminded me very much of Damian Lillard joining with Giannis last season. There was just like, we're both great, we're all great, but we haven't figured out how we're great together yet. And I hope that for the Knicks, because like I said, we said this is an exciting Knicks team, but that was some bullshit last night.
And then Wolves, Lakers. Lakers win this one 110-103. It really was not that close. It was not that close.
I did Minnesota lead once in this game?
I think they made the first basket of the game,
All right.
but
Well,
I could.
after that, it seemed like they were currently in a 10 to 15 point deficit for the entirety of the game.
Minnesota played like they were on the back end of a back to back.
Yeah, it was to me the standout in this game was before the tip off, and that was with Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr., the other father son combo to play in the same game. And these guys hit back to back home runs in a game once. I don't ever see LeBron James and Bronny James doing anything of that magnitude, but it was a cool moment at center court to see the legacies just that. I mean, we're talking about some of the great, whether you like him or not, LeBron James is one of the greatest players to ever play this game. As kids, this is his first ever game, and it was just
And
cool
he
to see
looked terrible last night, by the way.
two other legends on the court with him. It was cool.
By the way, we do have four games I wanted to talk about here.
Okay,
Two of them are national TV games. We'll talk about them first. Bucks at Sixers is the first national TV game tonight. No Embiid in this game, but I do
that
think this is going to be.
sucks. That sucks, man. Because I feel like that gives it to the Bucks.
Yeah,
I
it does.
really want to see Giannis and Embiid go at it. That's what I want. That's what we deserve, and we're getting gypped. In
And
my,
then the other national TV game that I think is somehow more intriguing because they're opening up the Intuit Dome.
that's right.
The Suns and the Clippers. I'm interested to see how this Suns team gets along.
So that means that the Lakers are no longer sharing a building with the Clippers. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
Wow, that's a long time coming. Probably makes it easier to schedule too.
Probably. And then the other two games, Magic Heat, I wrote down here as interesting. I think that's the League Pass game of the night, if you had to pick one. And then Warriors Blazers, which is I know what you'll be watching.
Oh, what
I
makes you
fully
think that?
I don't know, maybe the hat.
Hmm.
And there's a full slate of other games as well, but those are the four we kind of wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
Of
I will definitely be wanting to talk Portland tomorrow, whether we win or
yeah, let's
lose.
talk about some hockey games.
All right. It's always fun to watch Steph Curry play. So no matter what happens in Portland tonight, I'm going to get a treat.
Man, he is probably one of my favorite non-Timberwolves players ever.
Okay.
Uh,
Frozen Frenzy. Was this
how
not,
awesome was this?
dude? I honestly feel like hockey would be the best sport in the world over baseball if they had like 70 teams in the hockey league. And then we had this amount of games every day, and there was just a channel called Frozen Frenzy. Amazing, amazing.
ESPN did a great job last night. I will give ESPN credit. They did an
That was
awesome job handling
awesome.
this.
That was awesome.
There was so many goals last night. To give you just a highlight of this whole night, Tampa beat New Jersey 8-5, and in just an incredible game where Tampa at one point led this game 6-2.
Yeah. I mean, it was I didn't get to watch that whole game, but as I had Frozen Frenzy on one of my channels, man, I'm blessed to be able to watch four screens at once. And watching that four screen as one of the four screens was like my head was just going like a pinball, man. It was amazing. I
Last night
love
was one of
playing
the
something.
great sports nights to not include football. Let me put it that way.
You're not wrong, man. Like I was drained at the end of the day just because of the amount of work that I put in that day on all this. But like I I was just laying in my bed going, this is I mean, well, this is the life. Like who has a better life than I do right now?
And
Awesome.
then we and then Minnesota goes into Florida against the Stanley Cup champions and absolutely gives it to them. I mean, 5-1, and this game was over really at the end of the first period when Florida went in there, looked deflated. They come out, get a goal after Minnesota makes it 3-0. It ends up being 3-1. And at that point, as a Wild fan, I was getting nervous because it's the defending Stanley Cup champions and it's now a 2-goal game again.
Right.
You see and Florida had multi-goal comebacks all year last year, so you see where I was getting nervous.
Let me guess though. You're still not sold.
Nope.
What's it take, Ben? What does it take?
Give me give me 30 games where we haven't blown four leads.
I mean, you came out on top on this one. What else do you need? Fella, we lost to the Avalanche 3-2 in an unceremonious, garbage looking game.
Which
That
is
was
funny
not
because
fun.
I saw the very beginning of that Avs Kraken game. I didn't see the whole thing. I was streaming last night. I didn't see the whole thing. The Kraken came out like a bat out of hell last night and then must not have done anything the rest of the night.
No, they just can't make shots, man. It's like, come on. You are constantly on the attack, but these goals have got to start going in, man. Like for real. This team is too strong. They got too many good lines. They got depth. I mean, everywhere up and down that lineup, I can see
To give you an
scoring.
idea of where my beliefometer is with the Wild, I believe more in the Kraken right now, coming off a loss
Good.
and
You
a bad
should.
loss and a
You
bad
should.
loss. That loss last night was bad.
I know. Shut up. Get over it.
And the Wild won in convincing fashion, and I believe more in the Kraken right now. We only have one game tonight, Dames, and that's Flyers Caps.
Yeah, it was weird to go one game, all games, and then one one game again. But I look
I
forward to being able to just sit down and watch one game of two teams that I'm not really familiar with because I'm still poking my head into hockey, man. Like I'm learning the players. But I mean I'm last night was mwah, amazing.
Dames, I think we have time for one more segment here.
Sure. What's on your mind?
I want you to give me your top three NFL teams right now.
All right. I have no problem doing that. I have always been thinking about this. Of course, you know that Gobo and I do a show uh for the NFL games, and that's that all the time. Um, but I want you to go first. So go ahead.
All right. In this order, as of right now, going into week 8 of the NFL season, hard to believe we're already on week 8. Or is this week 7? I don't know. It's one of the two.
It's week
Anyway,
eight. It's week 8.
it is week 8. So going into week 8, I currently have the order as number one, Lions. Detroit is number one on my power ratings right now. Power ratings, not rankings. Two, Baltimore. I think this speaks for itself. Look at what they did to Tampa on Monday in Tampa. And I have the Chiefs 3.
All right. So you got Detroit, you got the Baltimore Ravens, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Correct.
What if
With a
I told
shout
you?
out, with a shout out to Buffalo because I do think they're like right there.
Okay, that makes me feel, I guess I don't really care. Um, I feel like these rankings are superficial. We're not even halfway through the season yet. So how could this really matter? But I'll play along, Ben. I'll play along. All right. I did rankings prior to the beginning of the season, and I want you to know that I had Washington finishing second in their division, which they're currently leading. Um, so I forecasted that. They're in my top five.
Okay.
They're not quite in my top three, however. The number one team in the NFL, in my estimation, is the Baltimore Ravens. Now, why do I say that? Did they start off do they have two losses? Yeah, they do. Is one of them to the Chiefs? Yes, it is. Was it on the last second play? Yes, it was. Was there ref interference? Yes, there was. Um, so knowing all those factors, I think if no matter the surface that they play on, if these two teams played right now, Baltimore wins. I think they beat Detroit, and I think they beat my number two team, which is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, I said it on NFL, as long as they have Josh Allen, they're contenders. They're just getting better, giving him more weapons. Um, and then my third pick is Detroit. I have the undefeated team outside of the top three. Be number four, and I have the Washington Commanders as number five.
Where do you have Minnesota right now? Just out of curiosity.
Six.
That makes sense.
We are 10 seconds
All
to
right, folks, we will
time.
see you tomorrow, right back
Thank you.
here on Lock 22, 8 p.m.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. Make sure you check out NFL as well and our TikTok.